So today it is April 24th, 2019, 10:18 p.m., the night before I'm going to watch Avengers Endgame. So I'm just taking the time to talk about what I want to happen or what I think is going to happen in this movie. First off, time travel. I'm expecting a lot of time travel. I'm expecting to see a lot of old characters come back, people from phase 1 that we haven't seen in like forever, like the Abomination. If he came back, that would be sick. I'm expecting a scene with almost every single MCU character at the end fighting Thanos. I think that Captain America is going to die. Most importantly though, I really want an emotional ending to the original 6 Avengers. The first Avengers movie, watching the Battle of New York, that part where the Hulk turns into the Hulk and they all get into that circle and the theme plays, I need a moment like that just to end the entire series, because I feel like those characters are a lot better than the new characters that we're getting. And I know people love Black Panther and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man and stuff, but I feel like it'll never be as good as the original 4 that we got. Something I really hope that doesn't happen is having to piss during this movie. I remember when I watched Infinity War, I had to piss basically in the opening scene, so I survived that. But yeah, I guess that's it. I will see you guys on the other side.
Heroes. It's an old-fashioned notion. We're in the Endgame now.
I honestly have no idea where to start with this. I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's hard to say that it's one of the best Marvel films on its own because it involves so much prior knowledge from all the other films. Infinity War did that too, but it had the benefit of focusing more on Thanos and his arc rather than Endgame, which focused more on trying to close off all of the separate arcs of each of the Avengers. Because of that, there's a lot less action and a lot more development given to each of the characters, which I can get make the pacing of the movie feel unbalanced, especially in the first hour or so. But I think it's those personal moments that make the Avengers in this movie feel the most human that they've ever felt in any previous Marvel movie. In Infinity War, everyone felt like these larger-than-life characters, and in Endgame you get more of a sense of what's actually happening in their headspace and what they think about their actual lives in a more realistic sense. Yeah, it leads to a more slow-paced film, but I feel like it makes the movie feel more unique and less of an extension to Infinity War. The Russo brothers said that these two movies were more than a part 1 and a part 2, but rather that they were two different expressions. Endgame doesn't feel like any other Avengers film, which gives merit to that claim. But that's also something I love about it. I liked what they did with Hawkeye. This is probably the most interesting he's ever been in any of these movies. Ant-Man was really great in this movie. I especially love the way they used Hulk. This is probably my favorite iteration of the Hulk so far. Captain America was so underutilized in Infinity War, but here he's one of the best and most interesting characters in the movie. Even Nebula, who I usually don't care for, was written really well here. I was afraid that Captain Marvel was going to overshadow the rest of the characters because of how powerful she is in the MCU, but they used her so sparingly, and I like how solving the problem didn't all depend on just using her powers. That's also something I commend this movie for. Most Marvel movies have great characters, but the stories are simplistic and sometimes too predictable. Endgame, in my opinion, has one of the most intricate and interesting stories because conquering the villain didn't just amount to fighting. There was so much more to it than that. Thanos isn't even in the movie that much compared to Infinity War. There were so many good fan-servicey moments in this movie too that big fans of the MCU will really appreciate. The final battle scene especially will probably stand as one of the biggest cinematic moments in history. Words cannot seriously express how insane it was, and to avoid spoilers, I'm not going to go into detail about what happens, but just know that it's everything any fan would want to see at the end of this 11-year journey. Endgame is also one of, if not the most emotional movie in the MCU in my opinion. All that slow character build-up really paid off in the end, and without it, I don't think the ending would have been as impactful as it was. The last shot especially was something that stuck with me after the movie, and it's something I don't think anyone would expect the final image of this saga to be. If we want to talk flaws, there's one decision that they make at the very end of the movie that I don't think felt earned enough. It's not the fault of the Russo brothers or anything of Endgame, it's kind of the fault of the other movies that the certain characters involved have been a part of. I can't really talk about it that much because it's really spoilery, so I'm just gonna say that. Also, the big final battle in the end looked kind of ugly in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, everything happening in that final battle was cool, it's just the way that it looked. Specifically the color grading, it looked really ugly. If you've seen Patrick H. Willems' video on why Marvel movies look ugly, you'll know what I'm talking about. Other than that, I would say that this movie is pretty solid and really well written from start to finish. It's really amazing that they were able to pull this off so well because of how much character work and loose ends they had to tie up. It really did feel like a celebration of the entire MCU thus far. So with that, I'm gonna give Avengers Endgame a 9.5 out of 10.